Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. You guys are going to be on your own today. I am in meetings with other teachers. So today is a day that you're working independently in Google Classroom. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up Unit 2 assignments. And the activity you're doing is called Guess Who Part 2. But before you do that, you need to fill out the attendance form. That's the only way for you to get marked present for today. You can't go back and fill it out later. You have to fill it out during class time in order to be marked present. It's real simple. It's just your name, period, and the date. So you just click on that and hit submit. And then after that, you'll work on this Guess Who Part 2 activity. I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute, but first I'm going to walk you through some kind of just review stuff and background information to help you out before you get started on that. So what you're doing in there is writing some scientific explanation. So you're taking the data you've already figured out from the Guess Who activity, and you're writing some explanations. So that means our old friend CER is back. We are thinking about those again. And it's not specifically written that you need to write claim, evidence, and reasoning like we've been doing. But whenever you're writing an explanation in science, having those three things is the way that you can actually show that you've made your argument for whatever your claim is. So even though it doesn't say specifically write a claim, evidence, and reasoning, that's what you should be doing in order to write an explanation. So to review, your claim is what you know, your evidence is how you know it, and your reasoning is why the evidence means that your claim is true. And here's just a visual of that. It says the same thing. Claim is what you know, evidence is how you know that, and reasoning is why does your evidence support your claim. And those all come together to form our explanation. This should say from our Guess Who activity. I think I cut off part of the title there. So from our Guess Who activity, say you had a question that said, identify Sally and explain how you know. So identify which of these people is Sally and then explain how you know that. So that's the question we would be trying to answer. And I'm talking to you guys about how to write that explanation. So here is an example of what your claim would look like in your explanation. You would say Sally is the person on the top middle. So she was top middle. And then I just pulled her picture out so we could have this image in our mind. I see she's got curly hair and brown eyes. It's not red and it's not freckles. So I have that in mind. And then your evidence. So now I've said this is Sally and I need to explain how. And to do that, I'm going to pull data from the graph because evidence is always strongest when it comes from scientific data, which is what a graph is. So evidence I could write would be pulling out all the info about Sally. So I look at the top right and I see that Sally is the dark blue. And I read the graph and I see the gene expression graph shows that Sally has overexpression of OCA2 because guys remember overexpression means way over 1 and that dark blue is way over 1. So that's how I came to that conclusion. So it says the gene expression graph showed that Sally had overexpression of OCA2 and of TCHH. When I look at the dark blue of TCHH, I also see that that's way high. And then I also said, but not MC1R or IRF4. Because when I look at the dark blue of those two genes, I see that those are both pretty close to 1, not overexpressed. So that's just me explaining the data. That's the evidence piece. Explain what the data says. It says the first two genes she's got a lot of, the second two she's got a normal amount of. Your reasoning then connects your claim to your evidence using scientific reasoning. And the sentence stem we've been practicing is include your evidence, then talk about your scientific principle, and say therefore, and connect it back to the claim. So I've color-coded this here for each piece of the reasoning. So in the first chunk, it says Sally was overexpressing OCA2. That's repeating my evidence. Which codes for brown eyes? That's the scientific principle because that's what that gene function is. So Sally must have had brown eyes. And that's me connecting it back to my claim. So I had my evidence stated, my scientific principle, and my connect back to claim. Next, Sally overexpressed TCHH. Overexpression of TCHH leads to curly hair, which means Sally must have curly hair. Next, Sally had normal expression of both MC1R and IRF4, which leads to red hair and freckles when they are overexpressed. So we're saying if they were overexpressed, then they would give her red hair and freckles. But then, since she was not overexpressing these genes, she did not have red hair and freckles. And then I just tie it all together in this one last statement here, and I say the only person who had brown eyes, curly hair, and did not have red hair and freckles was the top middle. So then that's truly connecting it back all the way back to my claim. So here's my full explanation. Sally is the person in the top middle. The gene expression graph showed that Sally had overexpression of OCA2 and TCHH, but not MC1R or IRF4. Sally was overexpressing OCA2, which codes for brown eyes, so Sally must have had brown eyes. Sally overexpressed TCHH. Overexpression of TCHH leads to curly hair, which means Sally must have curly hair. And Sally had normal expression of both MC1R and IRF4, which lead to red hair and freckles when overexpressed. Since she was not overexpressing these genes, she did not have red hair and freckles. The only person who had brown eyes, curly hair, and did not have red hair and freckles was the top middle. So that's my scientific explanation of how I knew who Sally was. So this is what you're going to be trying to do in your Guess Who Part 2 activity. So this example is the same one that I just read out to you, same exact one. And then you have a section for the data. So this is where you can find the people you're talking about, the graph, and the gene functions. And then your questions are here. The hardest one is going to be this challenge one at the bottom. It says it's referring back to the challenge question that you tried on Friday. It says the challenge question from the Guess Who activity was, genes are said to be linked if they are often inherited together. If two genes are linked, they tend to be expressed very similarly. Look at the gene expression graph. Which two genes appear to be linked? So you were looking at the graph then to see which of the 4 genes seem like they're expressed really similarly. That's what you were looking for. So next I tell you the answer is MC1R and IRF4. And what I'm asking you to do is to construct an explanation. What do you see in the graph? What evidence do you see in the graph that would explain why those two are linked? Explain how you can tell that those two are linked. So that's what I'm looking for in that last question. All right, I will be available via Hangouts is probably the best way to reach me today, or email. But Hangouts is definitely the thing I would see first. You can also remind me on the app, but again, I'd probably see Hangouts first. So I am available today. I'm at school. I'm just not in our class because I'm meeting with other teachers. So have a great day, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.